We looked at the first few lines of the Pauri last week, and Guruji started by asking a very fundamental question about where is your door, how do I find you, what is it like at your house, at your mansion. So Guruji asks the most important question, which is, after all that's said and done, where do I go to find you? What is your house like? What would it be like to be in the presence of you? How would I know when I'm there? And so Guruji talks about all the great things in life that are singing your praises. Talks about fire and the air singing your praises. And Guruji carries on with this analogy. The next line that we look at is Gavahe sidh samadhi andar gavan sad vichare. Sidhs, the sidhs, are singing samadhi andar, in deep meditation. The sidhs that are in deep meditation, they're also singing to you. They're also singing your praises. Gavan sad vichare. And sad means the sadhus. Notice the word sidh and sad, both are missing the onkar. It's a mukta word which makes them plural. The sidhs in deep meditation and the sadhus, vichare, who are also contemplating about you. So an interesting thing about the spelling here is that you notice the words with a sihari here. So gavahe, andar and gavan. So in this one line we're seeing two different reasons why the sihari is being placed on a word, according to the grammar rules of gurbani. The first word gavahe has a sihari because a sihari is used to talk about a verb, a word that is that's trying to describe an action, anything that is being done. So singing is an action. So where you're describing a verb like that, you have a sihari. So gavahe, and the same applies to the word gavan. So this is how you know when there are sometimes words in Guru Granth Sahib Ji that may have two different meanings. One of them could be a noun and another one could be a verb. It's the spelling that Guru Arjan Dev Ji has employed here throughout Guru Granth Sahib Ji to help us understand which version of that word is being used. And we also see the word andar that has a sihari. So another reason why we use a sihari on a word is to mean within. Within. So for example, you might see the word kar, house, home, spelt in three different ways. One with an onkar, meaning a single house. You might see kar without an onkar. That means homes. But you can also see the word kar with a sihari, which means within the home, inside your home. So the word andar obviously means inside, which is why we see the sihari there. But whenever you see other words which don't sound like they are feminine words, because the word kar, for example, is a masculine word, so why would it have a sihari there? The only reason that a masculine word would have a sihari would be because we're talking about inside that thing, inside the house. And in the same way, the word kar isn't a verb, it isn't a doing word. So you know just by looking at the word and looking at how it's been spelt exactly what Guruji means. Gavahe sidh samadhi andar gavan saat vichare. So the word sidh refers to a siddha, someone who has reached the peak of enlightenment and obtained spiritual powers. So in Hindu mythology, there are spiritual powers that are gained through deep meditation, and these are called sidh or siddhi. So a sidh is a person who has obtained siddhis, who has obtained these spiritual powers. And we see this word come up in earlier Pauris of Japji Sahib, at the beginning of the Suniye Pauris, Guruji started by saying, Suniye Siddh Peer Suranath. So it's talking again about these Siddhs, these people with spiritual powers. There are in fact 18 spiritual powers that have been identified within the spiritual tradition of Indic, ancient Hinduism, ancient Veds and the Puranas have talked about these spiritual powers. The first 8 of them are called Mahasiddhis, the great spiritual powers. And these include, historically, things that you would have seen and heard about in mythology, like the Mahabharata, like Ramayana, where there are these great characters who are able to do special magical things. So the 8 primary powers include being able to shrink in size into a size so small that you're as small as an atom and you're able to enter into any space. So that's one of the great powers. The other one is to grow in size, to gain a size in unlimited size, so to increase your size voluntarily. Another spiritual power is to become light as air, to become weightless. So that's why you see certain characters within Hindu mythology that are able to fly, because they're able to make their bodies really light. Another one is to make your body very heavy so that nothing can lift you, nothing can move you. One is prapti, which is to fulfill all of your own desires. So any desire, any wish that comes into your mind, you can make that come true. Another one is to know the thoughts of someone else, so you can actually read other people's minds. So the 7th one is supremacy, which is absolute lordship. Because you are so spiritually powerful, you become the lord of other people. You're able to control other people. And the final one within the 8 spiritual powers is dominion over the elements. So you're able to control the sun, the moon, nature, water, the sky. You're able to control the elements. So these are the 8 Mahasiddhs. So whenever Gurbani talks about Siddhs within Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they're talking about people who've obtained these spiritual powers. There's actually 10 more powers which are about never feeling hungry, never feeling thirsty, being able to hear things from really far away, being able to see something that is miles away, to be able to travel at the speed of thought. So that what that would look like would be that for one moment, if I desire to be in another part of the world, at the instant speed of thought, I'm able to teleport to that part of the world. To enter the body of other people. Another siddh is to be able to choose the time and place and moment and way of your own death. So instantly you may decide that now is the time for me to die, and you just allow yourself to die at that point. So that's another siddh. And then you can enjoy the company of gods. So another one is at any time you may be able to go and sit amongst the lap of the gods. You may be able to get any wish come true, and that you may be able to wander and walk in any way without any obstacle coming in front of you. So that could be things like walking through walls and walking through trees and mountains and things, and absolutely just being able to walk in a straight line without any physical object being able to hinder you in any way. So Guruji has talked about these things, about these spiritual powers, but interestingly in meditative traditions, people would meditate to try and obtain these powers. And those are the people who have said that I'm going to meditate so deep for so long until I can get these spiritual powers. Now this thing is where our gurus have drawn the line and said, actually that's not something that we have to try and do. We should never try and meditate to obtain these powers. So we should never chase after these things, because the very act of trying to achieve something like that is an act to increase your ego. Because then you walk around saying, I've obtained these, or the only reason to do them is because you're still holding on to this notion of I. So Guru says that you should never try and actually chase after these. In fact, Guru Amar Das Ji, the third Guru, says, Nav Nidhi Athare Siddhi Piche Lagya Fire. They actually come and chase you. And who are the ones that these spiritual powers chase after? Guruji says, Jo har hirday sada vasaye. Whoever has mantar, naam, waheguru, the divine awareness within their hirda, within their core, whoever has put naam at the basis of who they are, then the 18 spiritual powers will start chasing after you. They will come after you. You don't need to run after them. So that's the use of the word sidh there. And sadh refers to sadhus who are wandering meditators who walk around and they don't have any particular home. They don't settle in one place. They're always wandering around. And because they're doing that, they don't have any way of earning their own food. So they rely on other people to serve them. So you may see them with a begging bowl, for example, which is where they expect people, when they go knocking on people's houses, they expect people to give them some food. So Guruji talks about the wandering sadhus who receive food from others. So Guruji is saying, Gavan sadh vichare. Those sadhus who don't focus on worldly things, they spend all of their time contemplating. They're doing vichar, so they don't have time to earn an honest living or earn food or earn money in any way. Another way to look at the word sadh vichare, because they're wandering around, because they have no food for themselves, no means to earn for themselves, vichare here could also mean the garib, the poor, the humble sadhus who do not have any possessions for themselves. So you could say that sing the sidhs in deep meditation and sing the humble sadhus rather than the meditative contemplating sadhus. And in the next line, Guruji says, Gavan jati sati santokhi gave veer karare. So the jati sati means those who are self-restrained, who have found self-control and whose meditative practice is all about restraining themselves and controlling themselves, controlling their passions, controlling their desires. Jati and sati are the ones who are charitable. Wherever in Gurbani you see the word sat and santokh together, the sat there doesn't mean truth or doesn't mean sat like in Satnam, it doesn't mean existence. There the word sat always means charity, sat santokh. So here we see jati sati santokhi. So jati is the one who is self-restrained. Sati are the people who are constantly giving. Their whole life is giving to charity. And santokhi are the ones who are contented within themselves. So Gavan jati sati santokhi. Sing the self-controlled, the charitable and the contented one. Gave veer karare. Veer here means warriors, the brave fighters, and karare means the really strong warriors, the really takade ones. So the great meditators and the warriors of mythology. So now Guruji is actually talking about all the Hindu mythology that you hear about. People and the main characters within them all fit within these characters, within these sort of categories. So as the list continues, we begin to realize that Guruji is actually saying that any great person in Hindu mythology that you may have heard of, all of those people are singing your praises. So we started the verse by talking about Ishar, Brahma, Devi, the Shivas and the Brahmas and the goddesses. And now Guruji is further clarifying that all the Hindu mythological characters are ultimately all singing the praises at your door. So anyone who is seen worthy of being worshipped, Guru is saying, don't forget that these people are also worshipping that one final divine. Even fire, water, the sky, Taram Raja, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, the Devi Devtas, the sadhus, the warriors, anyone who you think is worthy of worship, Guru says, don't worship them because they're worshipping something higher. So they're worshipping this one divine. So Guru has always maintained this idea that anyone or anything that can be created or can be destroyed should never be worshipped, because that's not permanent. What we're talking about is always the permanent truth, the Ad Sach, Jugad Sach. So we're always looking to find what is permanent in this situation. So rather than worship that which has been created, worship that creative power that has created them in the first place. the one that has the power to create everything and destroy everything. And so even all of these different types of meditators, even if their style of meditating isn't one of singing, Guruji puts them in the category of singers, says that whatever they're doing, ultimately their whole practice is a practice of trying to connect with the divine. So Guruji categorizes all of this as a type of singing. So here we can say that Guruji is basically saying that any meditative practice is ultimately a song to the divine. Their way of life, the way that they live, is a song to the divine, a praise to God. So jati, sati, santoki, somebody who controls his mind, who keeps his body in control, someone who serves others. And the warriors can also mean the people who are fighting internal battles, the one who are fighting the ego and the one who are fighting the villains as well. Gavan pandit padan rakhisar jug jug veda nale. So here rakhisar is the main word. The pandits, which are the priests within the Hindu tradition, the Hindu priests. Gavan pandit padan, the one who are constantly reading the scriptures. And rakhisar. Rakhisar is a word that means Riki Ishar, which means the rishis. Rishis is also another word for saints or sadhus. These divine rishis. So sing the Hindu priests, the rishi sages, who throughout the ages have read the Vedas. Jug Jug Veda Nale, the ones who have constantly been contemplating and reading the message of the Vedas. So by them just simply living a life of focus on the Vedas, that style of life is also a type of meditation, is also ultimately a song to the divine. Ultimately they're doing things to connect with the divine. Gave morniya man mohan surga mach pyale. So now Guruji has used feminine characteristics. Mohniya means these beauties, these angelic divine angels, these beautiful, divine, tempting, man mohan, the ones that are very enchanting to the mind. The word mohan means something that enraptures your mind, something that enchants you. So Guruji talks about these divine beauties, these angels that are mind enchanting. Surga mach pyale. So Surga here means heavens, Mach the higher worlds, and Pyale means the patals, the lower regions. Remember, in Hindu mythology there are 7 lower regions and 7 higher regions. And that's where Guru Nanak Dev Ji talked about patala, patal. Actually, there are countless patals. So, Gave Mohaniya Man Mohan Surga Mach Pyale. Sing the angelic beauties who enchant the mind in the heavens, the higher worlds, and the lower worlds, the underworlds. So all of these angels are also singing your praises. Gavan Ratan Upaye Tere At Sat Tirath Nale. So Ratan means jewels, and again it's a plural word. Gavan Ratan Upaye Tere. So sing your created jewels. And again, in ancient mythology there are a very specific number of jewels and which jewels it is that are seen as the most precious, whether they be actual rubies and diamonds or they're actually virtues and spiritual jewels. But all of these within the spiritual context are singing your praises. And Atsat Tirath Nale. So all material wealth, which is your jewels, your ratan, and your tirath, which is your spiritual wealth. Spiritual wealth is in the old days seen as somebody who has gone and visited all the spiritual places of pilgrimage. They've gained a lot of spiritual wealth. So Guruji is talking about material wealth, all of your money and your physical wealth and your spiritual wealth. Ultimately, they are a song to the divine. And another way to look at Atsat Tirath Nale. Nale means who are beside or who are with the tiraths. And tiraths, the Atsat Tirath, are generally places which have a meditation spot at the banks of a river or banks of a sacred pool. So the people who are Nale, who are sitting at those sacred places, all those people who go to those meditation places, who sit at the banks of those rivers and sacred lakes, they are also singing your praises, because why do people meditate? Ultimately, everybody meditates to try and connect with this oneness. So all of these people in all of these different traditions are ultimately being a song to you. This is how Guru Nanak Dev Ji sees them. Guru's seeing them as a different way of singing your praises.